Lena was not like other children. She didn't talk a lot. She didn't look people in the eyes. Loud sounds made her cover her ears. Crowds made her feel like she couldn't breathe. But she was smart, very smart. She remembered everything she heard. She saw things that no one else noticed. Colors had feelings to her. Voices had shapes. Every detail in her world meant something. Lena was 9 years old and lived in a big, cold house with tall gates and long hallways. Her father, Mr. Alvarez, was a very rich man. Everyone in town knew him. He owned many racehorses, big lands, and powerful friends. People smiled at him, but they were afraid of him too. He always wore nice suits and had a strong voice that made people quiet when he spoke. But at home, he wasn't soft. He wasn't kind. He was distant. He never hugged Lena. He never asked her how she felt. He only cared about money, winning, and keeping secrets. Lena didn't understand why her father seemed like a stranger, but she watched him. She always watched. Her mother had died when Lena was small. Lena didn't remember her well, just the smell of flowers and a warm laugh that felt like sunshine. Now, the only love Lena felt came from Carmen, the kind housekeeper who treated her like family. Lena often stayed awake at night. The house felt lonely when it was quiet. The air felt heavy. Sometimes she walked through the halls in her socks, hugging her stuffed bear, just to feel something real. That night, something pulled her to the study. The light under the door was on. It was past midnight. She stopped. The door was open just a little. She heard her father's voice. He was talking on the phone. His voice was low, careful, cold. "Make sure Stormrunner acts out during the race," he said. "No one should suspect anything. It has to look like an accident." Lena didn't move. She didn't breathe. Door. Eyes blinked slowly. She didn't understand it fully. But her brain started working fast. She remembered every word, every pause, every breath in his voice, like a recorder.
Right.
Like a machine made for truth, she backed away slowly and tiptoed back. To her room, her heart was beating hard. Her hands were shaking. She didn't know why, but she knew something was wrong. Deeply wrong. The next morning, Lena sat at the breakfast table. Her legs swung under the chair. She held her spoon but didn't eat. Mr. Alvarez came in with a fake smile. "Did you sleep well, sweetheart?" he asked. Lena nodded. Quietly, her eyes stayed on him. She watched his hands, his smile. The way his voice tried to sound soft. She said nothing, but inside her mind, something had started. Something sharp, something strong. She didn't feel safe anymore. Over the next few days, Lena saw things she hadn't noticed before. The house late at night. Some wore long coats and dark glasses. Some whispered in the corners. Lena watched them from behind doors, from stairs, from windows. She heard numbers. Big numbers, money, bets, races. She heard names, doctors, judges, trainers. Something bad was happening. But somehow her father was in the middle of it. Lena didn't tell anyone yet, not even Carmen. She didn't have the right words. But she was watching, listening, recording, because one day she might need to remember everything. Everything, and what she remembered might save her life. The day of the Grand Spring race had arrived. Everyone was excited. It was the biggest horse race of the year. People came from all over the country to see it. Porters, judges, rich families, and race fans filled the stadium, but Lena was not. Excited, she was scared. Something inside her heart told her this was the day her father had planned. The day he wanted Stormrunner to act out. It's the day something bad was supposed to happen, and she knew she was the target. Mr. Alvarez smiled more than usual that morning. He helped Lena into her pretty dress and brushed her hair with soft hands, but his eyes were cold, empty. "You'll be safe today, sweetheart," he said, as he kissed her forehead. "I promise." But Lena didn't believe him. His promise felt like a lie dressed in sweet words. Carmen stayed close to Lena. She knew something was wrong, too. Her hands were shaking when she tied Lena's shoes. Her voice trembled when she said, "Stay near me. Don't wander off, okay, Mia?" Lena nodded. They drove to the race stadium in Mr. Alvarez's black car. On the outside, everything looked perfect. Cameras flashed, People waved. The Alvarez family was seen as rich, strong, and proud. But inside, Lena felt like a bird in a cage. She looked around carefully. She saw the men from the meeting. The same men who had spoken about the accident. They were standing near the horse stables, whispering again. Stormrunner was there too. He was a large, powerful horse with deep black fur and wild eyes. People called him the monster of the track. He had kicked riders before. He had broken fences. No one could fully control him. Lena had never been afraid of animals. But today, even she felt a chill run through her when she looked at him. The race began. Crowds shouted with joy. Horses thundered down the track, and then it happened. Runner, who had been calm seconds ago, suddenly went wild. He threw his rider off his back, reared up high, and turned toward the edge of the track, toward the people, toward Lena. People screamed. Some ran. Others froze in shock. Mr. Alvarez didn't move. He just watched. His hands were folded in front of him. His eyes were fixed on one place. His daughter. Lena stood still, frozen in place. Stormrunner was coming fast. Carmen screamed and tried to pull Lena back, but something stopped the girl. Not fear, but something deeper, something strange, something calm. Instead of running, Lena stepped forward. She looked into Stormrunner's eyes, and then she began to sing. A soft lullaby. The same one Carmen sang when Lena was scared or overstimulated. A song that felt like home. A song that made the world feel quiet and warm. Stormrunner, lewd. His ears twitched. The crowd fell silent. The fierce horse that could not be tamed stopped. He lowered his head. He stood in front of Lena and breathed gently like a calm wind. Everyone stared. No one understood what had just happened, but Lena knew. Something deep inside her had connected with the animal. Maybe it was her heart. Maybe it was her gift. Maybe it was her pain. But in that moment, she was not a weak little girl. She was stronger than anyone else there, and her father knew it too. His plan had failed, and now the truth was no longer hidden. Days passed, but Lena couldn't forget what she heard that night. Stormrunner. Accident. No one should suspect anything. The words stayed in her head like sharp needles. They repeated over and over, like a song she didn't want to hear. She didn't know what her father was planning, but her heart felt heavy every time she thought about it. Mr. Alvarez, her father, acted like everything was normal. He smiled, gave orders to the staff, and talked about the upcoming Grand Spring race. But something about him had changed. Or maybe Lena had just started to see who he really was. One morning she watched him from behind the staircase. He was speaking to two strange men. They wore dark jackets and didn't smile. She could hear bits of their talk. Stormrunner. Must stay aggressive, one man said. And the girl. She will be near the track. Yes, Mr. Alvarez replied. It will all look like bad luck. Lena covered her mouth with both hands. The girl? Is he talking about her? She stepped back, heart pounding. Her father, her own father, was planning something terrible. She didn't know why. Maybe because she had heard too much. Maybe because she was different, and he didn't love her the way she had hoped he did. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She lay in her bed holding her stuffed bear. She felt small, cold, afraid. Her mind was full of questions. Why would a father hurt his own child? Why use a horse to do it? Why did he never look at her the way Carmen did? With care, with love. The next morning, while folding clothes with Carmen, Lena finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. If someone is hurting horses to make money, shouldn't someone stop them? Carmen looked at her, confused. What do you mean, Mia? Lena looked down and started repeating. Everything her father's phone call, the secret meeting with the men, the words about the accident, the horse, and the girl. Her voice didn't shake. Her memory was perfect. Every word came out exactly as she had heard it. Carmen's hands dropped the towel she was folding. She stared at Lena, shocked and scared. She had always suspected Mr. Alvarez was involved in dirty business. but hearing it from his own daughter's mouth made it real. Too real. What you're saying is very serious, Lena, Carmen said gently. Are you sure? Lena nodded, slowly. Her eyes didn't blink. Remember everything, she said. Carmen sat down, her heart racing. She took Lena's small hands in hers. Listen to me, sweet girl, she whispered. You are brave and you are smart, but you must be careful. Your father, he is not a good man. You can't let him know what you heard. Lena nodded again. She understood. From that moment, everything changed. Mr. Alvarez started watching Lena more closely. He asked her strange questions. He checked who she talked to, even told Carmen to stop leaving Lena alone for too long, but it was too late. Lena had already memorized the truth. Every word, every plan, every lie. She started writing small notes and hiding them under her bed, notes with dates, names, and voices. She didn't know what would happen next, but she was preparing, quietly, carefully, even though she was just a child. She knew something big was coming, something dangerous. But Lena also knew something else now. She wasn't just a quiet girl. She was a watcher, a listener, and maybe, just maybe, she was the one who could stop him. The crowd at the race was still silent. People stared at the young girl and the wild horse that had just calmed down. Cameras flashed. Reporters rushed forward. Carmen held Lena tightly, tears running down her face. But Mr. Alvarez was no longer smiling. He saw something in Lena now, something he didn't understand. She had ruined his plan without saying a word. She had stopped a wild horse, made the world look at her. Later that evening, the truth started to come out. Stormrunner had been drugged. Tests showed the horse was given something that made him angry and wild. It wasn't an accident. It was planned, and Lena had known all along. The police came. Investigators arrived. People started asking questions. The story spread quickly about the little girl, the dangerous horse, and the calm voice that stopped. At first, nobody believed Lena's story. She was just a child and autistic. Some thought she was confused, but then she began to speak. She told them everything, every detail, every name, every number, every word she had heard in her father's study. She spoke slowly but clearly. Her voice was soft but full of power. She remembered conversations word for word. She shared dates, places, and plans. She even gave them the names of the men who had helped her father. The room fell quiet. One police officer whispered, "She's like a human recorder." Her words were written down. Her memory was tested. And every single thing she said was true. Lena had become the key witness in a very big case. Her words broke open a secret network of lies, illegal races, fake injuries, drugged horses, and planned accidents. Her father had not only tried to hurt her, he had hurt many others to get richer and more powerful. The trial began a few weeks later. Mr. Alvarez stood in court, wearing a dark suit, looking smaller than ever. Lena sat across from him, holding Carmen's hand. She was scared, but she didn't show it. Her eyes were calm. Her voice was steady. She looked at her father and said, "I wanted you to love me, just for being me. But you chose money instead. So that makes me sad, but not afraid." Mr. Alvarez said nothing. He had no defense. He was found guilty and sent to prison for many years. The media called Lena a hero, but she didn't care about being famous. What mattered most to her was that the truth was finally outtanned. No one could hide it again. Years later, Lena stood outside a small white building with big windows and colorful signs. It was a new center for children like her kids who saw the world in different ways, who felt more deeply than others, who didn't always fit in. The center was called The Voice Within. Inside were books, toys, music, and kind people who listened. Children laughed and played. They were safe. They were understood. Lena walked in slowly, wearing a soft blue dress. She smiled as she heard the sound of laughter and soft singing. This place was her dream. She had turned her pain into something beautiful. She had turned fear into courage. She had turned silence into power.